Hello and welcome to my July newsletter. I can't believe where July has gone. I've spent quite a bit of it laid low with the flu, but that's just this time of year down here in the southern hemisphere. Obviously, those of you in the northern hemisphere will be experiencing some lovely hot weather, some sunshine, and we are in our midst of our winter. So with July has not only been a really quick month, but it's been a month where we've had the two eclipses. We've had two full moons in July, and the energy with the month of Cancer as well. It's been a really emotional process for people, I think, is one of the key things that have come through for me. And with my clients, a lot of the clients have come through where they've made major changes or changes or circumstances, and they felt a little bit lost. They've made that change, but how do they then move through the change and let everyone else know? Or that change is being forced upon them. And I've called my newsletter the Eye of the Storm because for some of my students and for my client base, it feels like they're in the eye of the storm. They're making change, but all around them feels quite chaotic, and real feelings of ungroundedness coming through this month as well. People not being grounded in their body, not feeling connected to themselves. They know they've made these changes, they know they've got these changes to make, but they can't believe in those changes, see it, feel it, believe it, taste it, touch it, live it. And that has had this sensation of people feeling, have I done the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Am I creating the right path for me? Do I know what I'm doing? Can I trust myself? And that's been a huge issue, I feel, for certainly my clients that have come to me. Am I doing the right thing? Should I still be doing it? And so we then come back to the previous month's newsletter, where it's that fifth, sixth dimensional living, where we're having to really, really just trust our spiritual gifts, because we have to save ourselves. No one is going to save you. Only you can save you. And I know that in the beginning of July, with some of my clients, I was really sort of saying to them, I can't give you those answers. I can't tell you if you should move to the North End. I can't tell you if this is the man you're going to marry, because only you can make those decisions. I can't actually do that. I can't give you directions in your life. What I can do is remove the fear that is stopping you from creating direction or moving in a different direction. And so I feel coming back to saving ourselves, using our intuitive self and our spiritual gifts to keep us moving in that right direction. I feel that's where the trust has to come in. And I think for many of my clients and students around me, that's the key thing. Trusting that what they're hearing, what they're feeling, what they're seeing, what they're sensing truly is spiritual guidance, and not just their selves talking to themselves or their ego interfering with a thought process. So here's really the things, or the key aspects, that I think you could be looking at or thinking about when making key decisions. And the first thing is, well, what is your first intuitive thought process around it? Does it feel good? Do you feel like you're going in the right direction? Excuse me, somebody's tickling my ear there. Do you feel you're going in the right direction? Are you seeing the benefit from creating that decision or that new avenue in your life? How does it feel? Does it sit well? Does it feel comfortable? If at any point you're feeling a little bit on edge, a little bit disconnected, a little bit uncertain or unsure, then you've got to double check, go back into yourself and look at what those nagging thoughts and feelings are. And can that be something that could be rectified? Is it something that you're in charge of? Is it something that you can have some control over? So thinking about how you're feeling, how does that feel for you, is really key. And being grounded, in the newsletter, I've put in that it's really key at this point of time, because June and July, we're coming into that high emotional months. It's the water signs. We're really, our emotional body's quite out there. It's quite vulnerable. It's another word that people say, I feel really vulnerable right now, Phyllis. And that's because they're second guessing, doubting themselves, not really coming back to self and going, so why am I doing this? What's the upside? What's the downside? And do I need to keep moving forward? So second guessing ourselves is quite a big thing at the moment. So coming back to self is the key to going back onto the right path. And it being in the eye of the storm is that calm space. It's that space where we can just breathe a little bit. There's the chaos all around us. And that could be in a personal life. So for us here, we've moved the home office, the big office, into this big space now. So I'm now sharing an office. So that's all change for me, because I've been really protective of the space that I'm in. I'm in a really massive space. This is my workshop space. And so that's a big change. And I've had to let go some of my control and my protectiveness around this space. But it feels really good now that everything's in. So I can see it. And the chaos part was the shifting. And the chaos part was thinking, what's it going to be like? Am I ready? And it's taken me 3 months to get to this point, ladies and gentlemen. This hasn't been an easy thing for me. But now that I've done it, and I can see the benefit of us all being in the one space, I can see the benefit of having everything, my stuff, all at one end of the room. It feels much better. I think that when we're in the eye of the storm, in that place where we can just see what the change is going to be, we can ponder of how it's going to feel. But once we step into the chaos of the change, we can be a little bit more prepared, or a little better prepared for what we feel might be happening. So if you are about to create change in your life, if you're taking on board some changes in your life, then being in the eye of the storm is quite a good space, but you can't be here forever. I couldn't actually hold on to this space forever and a day. It had to change. And it's been a good change. And I feel ready for the change. It was always about my last workshop. Well, I'll run my last workshop. That's in this location. And I've now come to terms that actually I've got another location that I can absolutely run workshops in. And I will run my workshops from there, because it just makes sense. So it's not that I'm losing anything. I'm gaining a bit of camaraderie in my office. I'm gaining a convenience that the printer is just here instead of having to walk to the other end of the house. I'm gaining a new venue that I can start to create and put my energy in, and that's going to be really lovely. My workshops will still continue on a physical level, but I had to actually have that leap of faith, trust that the process would actually be quite good and beneficial in the long run. So getting grounded, being really connected to the decisions that you're about to make, even though it feels quite chaotic, a little bit overwhelming on the outside in your peripheral vision, but keep visualizing what it is that you want to get out of it. What are the benefits? How does it actually feel? And then once we step into it, then you should feel like me a little bit more, well, we're here now and it feels okay. And, the world hasn't stopped turning. I think also, I think people are being impacted by global events. And when I think about Christchurch, we're here in Christchurch, New Zealand. I know there are other Christchurches all over the globe, but Christchurch, New Zealand, the last 7 to 10 years, it's been in the spotlight in terms of the quake disasters and what that brought to us as a community. What did that bring to us here in Christchurch? What were the tools and the skills that we learned? We had the mass shooting in March, and yet again, Christchurch is under the spotlight. The global attention was upon us, and what has that brought? And again, it's brought out all the skills that we'd learned as a community back when the quakes first came. We applied those skills. And we actually remembered to reconnect with each other. We remembered to support each other, and that we are actually a giving human race. We see all the bad stuff. We hear how cruel we are to each other, and we hear how indifferent and how separate and cruel and unloving we can be to each other. But in the face of adversity, we can pull together and we can create such dynamic change. And we've just had this massive gas explosion, which my house was miles away, and I felt the sonic boom from that. And it's just like, wow, so what's going on in Christchurch now? Here's Christchurch again, another big event. But here we are as a community pulling together, supporting the families that have been devastated by this event, seeing and being part of a community. And as much as the global events out there, we're seeing riots, and we're seeing change and political unrest, and we're seeing dynamic ecological events happening. If we can keep that community spirit going here, if we can, as a community, be in the eye of the storm, in a place of calmness, whilst the world around us seems to be turning to custard, if we can demonstrate to each other and keep demonstrating to each other our kindness and our humanity and our creativity and our sensitivity and our compassion and our healing and our love towards each other, then it will filter out. And it's that that story my husband talks about all the time, true or untrue, about the thousands of starfish trapped on a beach, and a young boy picks one up and throws it back into the water, and the father says, but you can't save them all. And the young boy says, well, at least I can save this one, and I can save this one, and I can save this one. And he continued to throw the starfish one by one back into the sea. That octopus thought process, or that hurricane thought process, it will impact when we are demonstrating through our acts of kindness that there is still kindness out there. And as a human race, we can create balance, and we can see through the stormy weathers together as a community, and also on that macro level, or micro level, I should say, as an individual. Whatever storm you're going in, find that place of stillness, ground yourself, come back to self. You can only save yourself. And this is the key thing, saving yourself. No one else can do it for you. No one can make decisions for you. You have to find it within yourself, and for the courage and the trust and the clarity to step back in when you're ready, step back into the fray, back into that storm, and go, this is what I've decided. This is what I'm doing. I suppose when we're at a point in our life where it gets a little bit tiring, I think we get a little bit tired of having to always make decisions. I think for single people, they find it even more challenging because they don't have anyone to bounce ideas off, or they're just exhausted of having to be the only person that makes decisions in their life. They're exhausted from having to always be responsible for themselves. But when we do bring back responsibility to ourselves, and when we do achieve great things, when we do make decisions and we get that positive outcomes, then celebrate those successes. That's the key to building trust in yourself. It's the key to knowing that if I take a step back from the storm, but when I step back in, I'm going in with good decision-making skills, that in celebrating your successes, you then know that you can tackle anything. You can push yourself through anything. And I think that's a really wonderful thing to do. We as a family made a big decision. It just came to fruition today. And, Nathan and I hugged ourselves. We phoned up Michael, who's not well at the moment. He's ill at home in bed, and told him the good news. And we celebrated over the phone, because it's a big decision that we made, but it is about us saving ourselves. And the more that you can trust those decisions and then see the positive outcome, the more you're moving forward in your life. And the storms become more manageable. The storms become less intimidating. The thought of having to make decisions or let go things or become somebody different becomes less overwhelming. And you develop a new norm. You develop a new way of thinking, a new way of being, a new way of pushing yourself beyond your boundaries and your limits, so you know that you will absolutely achieve the best things in life. So I feel for anyone that's out there who has felt a little bit overwhelmed this month. We've got those 2 lunar eclipses that have impacted us. They always will. We've got the Cancer sign, a water sign, high emotional sign, and that will always impact us as well. And have a think about what it is that you're feeling about yourself, trusting yourself, having faith in yourself, coming back to self is the only place that you can be. In handing your power over to other people, to the storm, and handing your power over to other people and circumstances and hoping that it will all work out, then you have no power. You've given your power away. And I think with clarity, when you pull that energy back, you can really start to make some amazing changes and develop new habits, developing new habits. So it's been a big month. I think for me, I haven't had the flu for such a long time, but here I've struck down with the flu twice this year. So not quite sure what that's telling me about. But in my time off, having to just rest and be at peace with myself and to allow my body to repair and allow myself that rest time is a key learning lesson for me. I tend to fight my way through everything. And I think that in that rest time for me, it's been a really grounding time. A time just to find my feet and to come back to work and have a clear picture, a sense of clarity about the direction I want to go in. So spending time meditating, being in a lovely space, walks in the garden, just standing and breathing in fresh air, positive mantras on a day-to-day basis. These are all really grounding things, and they will all bring yourself back to who you are in this day and age, the here and now, who you are in the here and now. So don't be frightened of the storm. Just take some time out, a deep breath, and then figure your way through before you jump back in. I think, I suppose moving on from the workshops that I've done, I've just done a channeling course and had a lovely student come down from the North Island just to say hello and to talk about the channeling course. So trusting in yourself can be a really good way to build up that sense of self-belief, self-esteem, self-confidence, self-awareness. And so channeling your own inner self, get to grips with who you are. For those of you who maybe don't have an understanding of your clear skills or your clear gifts, I do have a live psychic development course coming up, and it's really just a short 6-week course. Excuse me again. And we're just exploring what the clear skills are. So for those of you who want to get in touch with your inner voice, maybe that's an option to look at. So look out for that in the newsletter. And just be really aware of what's going on around you. Don't get caught up in other people's drama. Take a step back. So until the next time, bye for now.